Abuja residents woke up on Friday shocked to see that fuel queues have returned to fuel stations. This comes as the Nigerian National Petroleum Company continues to assure Nigerians of adequate supply of premium motor spirit. In a press statement signed by the Group General Manager, Public Affairs Division of the NNPC, Mr. Undu Uhumadu, the government urges Nigerians not to panic and engage in quick buying of the product. Our correspondent, Amaka Okafor, reports. We'll get that story for you as quickly as we have it. In the meantime, in a bid to address the lack of adequate infrastructure in the country, the newly inaugurated president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Adekunle Mokolu, is proposing a pilot rural infrastructure development scheme in 6 villages across the nation's geopolitical zones. Speaking at his investiture as the 31st president of the NSE, which had in attendance former president of Nigeria, General Olusegun Obasanjo, Engineer Mokolu says that the initiative is targeted at improving the provisions of infrastructure, especially at the grassroots.
The hall is filled to capacity as former President Olusegun Obasanjo, engineers, representatives of top government officials and professionals from other walks of life gather in Abuja for the investiture of the 31st President of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. The special guest of honor, President Muhammadu Buhari, who is represented by Nigeria's Minister of Science and Technology, highlights the critical role of engineers in the economic recovery and growth plans of the federal government.
The federal government will continue to work with the Nigerian Society of Engineers for the purpose of sustainable economic diversification of the country in line with the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan 2017 to 2020. We expect our engineers to be in the vanguard of the scientific technological renaissance that we have inaugurated through innovative policies with the aim to spearhead the development of our nation.
In his inaugural speech, the national president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers outlines some of his plans for the professional body, with special focus on rural infrastructural development.
In a few weeks from now, we shall launch a pilot rural development scheme in collaboration with Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, ALGON, and the various branches of the NSE across Nigeria shall drive this. 6 villages from each geopolitical zone will be selected for intervention. We plan to provide the infrastructure free for these villagers, and the cost will be borne by you and I.
Individuals and corporate organizations who have distinguished themselves in their career received awards handed to them by former President Olusegun Obasanjo. While the administration of President Buhari has continued to emphasize its commitment to infrastructural development, these professionals believe the development must start with the rural areas.
And help has come for victims of natural disasters in Bidda local government area of Niger State as they receive food items and cash worth over 42 million naira from the state government. The beneficiaries including victims of flood and fire disasters which occurred between 2015 and 2016. The intervention comes almost 2 years after, following an assessment of the impact of the food and other disasters in the area, of the flood rather, and other disasters in the area.
These are remnants of houses and farmland destroyed by flood in Bidda local government area of Niger State between 2015 and 2016. Over 200 people were affected by the disaster, which left many people homeless. Relief materials, including food and clothing items, are distributed to the victims by officials of the Niger State Emergency Management Agency on behalf of the state government.
Aside the items you can see on ground, it costs Niger State government to the tune of 42 million naira, including implementation cost. Where we have victims that are not around, that is where the chairman will sign an undertaking for us, guaranteeing the victim will have it when they are available, because we cannot take cash back to Mina or the food items back to Mina.
The traditional ruler of Nupe, Alhaji Yahaya Abubakar, is here to witness the distribution and makes cash presentations to some of the victims.
The effort of the government under the leadership of His Excellency, the Governor of Niger State, Alhaji Abubakar Sadiq Sanibello, who was actually considered very important to assist people who actually suffered some losses during the hazards that passed last year or so, some from fire hazards, some from water hazard and what have you. So this bringing will go a long way to enhancing the standard of living of our people. We appreciate it immensely.
Though delayed, the beneficiaries are happy that the relief items will take care of some of their immediate needs.
I received the sum of 100,000 naira with one bag, a bag of rice, a bag of guinea corn, a gallon of palm oil and granite oil as well.
It is a form of compensation from the government in respect of the disaster we passed through. So we thank the government for responding to our plea.
While the intervention by the state government to the people in this area is commendable, it's however hoped that the appropriate steps will be taken to forestall recurrence of flood disasters not only in Bida but across Niger State.
Over 80,000 children displaced as a result of insurgency in the northeast of Nigeria have benefited from an education crisis response project funded by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. A ceremony to end the 3-year program has been held in Bauchi State, where officials appealed to state governments to sustain the project. The ECR was launched in October 2014 to address the education needs of internally displaced children.
These children receiving education kits are among the 1 million displaced children of school age forced out of their homes as a result of insurgency in the northeast. They are now beneficiaries of the Education Crisis Response Project introduced in 5 states of the northeast, Adamawa, Bauchi, Gombe, Yobe and Borno states, in order to provide access to education for out-of-school children. The program is winding up after 3 years of implementation.
An education model that can be replicated to help solve the problem of out-of-school children and youth in Nigeria. In fact, we're beginning to see the replication of this with the investment of other donors, such as the World Bank, the United Kingdom's DFID, and the European Union, who are working with USAID to ensure a common approach to the provision of services for those who are out of school.
Through the program, 1,456 non-formal learning centers were established and 80,341 learners enrolled across the states. The onus is now on the state governments to replicate and sustain the program.
Even though they are folding up today, they have made very meaningful impacts on the lives of our children and the lives of our teachers. We are going to remember the positive contributions that we make in education in the state.
I want to seize this opportunity to make a passionate request to the USAID to consider the state and the northeastern region that were ravaged by the Boko Haram insurgency in the subsequent projects.
Education stakeholders are hopeful that lessons drawn from the ECR will assist state governments in bridging the learning gap by enrolling the children in school.
To politics now. After more than 2 years of legal battle, Anambra Central Senatorial Zone is set to get a representative in the Red Chamber of the National Assembly as a fresh election ordered by the court has been held. The zone has been without a senator since 2015, when the Court of Appeal sacked Uche Ekwenife, who was declared winner of the election conducted during the 2015 general elections. The candidates of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, ABGA, Victor Omer, had gone to court to challenge the election of Mrs. Ekwenife, who contested under the banner of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. Election observers have, however, judged the conduct of the polls as free and fair. The 2 years protracted legal battle over the Anambra Central senatorial seat is finally laid to rest. As the people of the senatorial district troop out to participate in the rerun election scheduled by INEC in 109 wards of the 7 local government areas of the zone. Eligible voters complied to the restriction order on movement, while the security officials were also on hand to ensure the smooth conduct of the poll. And then the voting proper begins, with accredited voters gathering, one after the other, at different polling booths to vote for their choice candidates.
What we're expecting is that our candidate, Chief Staff Victor Omer, OFR, will be the winner of today's election. It's long overdue. He's the candidate of our choice. He's the rightful candidate, the best candidate to represent the Central Senatorial Zone.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has proved to those who doubt the integrity of the Commission that it is ready to defend democracy and rule of law. The one that is very important in this process is obedience to the rule of law.
The conduct of the senatorial election in most of the local government areas did not fall short of the expectation of the people, and they believe the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has done a great job.
As you can see, it's peaceful, it's quiet, everybody is happy. And this is the first time, in fact the second time after the governorship election of last year, that INEC is performing above average.
The results of the senatorial election is expected to be announced as soon as the collation is completed. Let's quickly shift gears now to business news with Anne Waudo.
Thanks a lot, Gimba. The Central Bank of Nigeria has continued its intervention at the interbank foreign exchange market with a total of $262.5 million for the agricultural, airlines, petroleum products and raw materials sectors. The CBN spokesman, Mr. Isaac Okorafor, says the aim is to boost production and trade in addition to sustaining forex liquidity in the market. On Monday this week, the CBN, in its first retail secondary market intervention sales for the year, injected a total of $210 million into the interbank forex market for the wholesale, small and medium enterprises and invisibles windows. Meanwhile, the Naira remains stable at 360.41 against the dollar at the investors and exporters forex window. In the meantime, the Central Bank of Nigeria plans to offer over 229 billion naira in treasury bills. That will happen next week. The offer comprises of 10.25 billion naira, 26.6 billion naira, and the 193 billion naira of the 91-day, the 182-day, and the 364-day bills. Average yields in the market closed higher by 16 basis points to 13.77% this week. Yields expanded at the short and the mid ends of the curve, while it contracted at the long segment. But dealers are expecting the yields to further trend northward as the demand remains very constrained on the back of expected contraction in liquidity. Let's see how the Nigerian equities market fared this week. The all-share index surged 10.60% this week to close at 42.84 42,898.9 points, following continued buying spree across all sectors. The Industrial Goods Index led the rally, followed by the banking, oil and gas, insurance and consumer goods sectors. The gains were driven by sustained demand for the shares of Cement Company of Northern Nigeria, FBN Holdings, Eternal Oil, Linkage Assurance and Honeywell Flour. Meanwhile, 7up Nigeria PLC notified the NSE of the board's decision to revise the consideration it was offering minority shareholders to 125 naira per share. And that's business news this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Gimba.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's Falconets secure precious 2-0 away victory over South Africa in the first leg final round qualifiers for the FIFA Women's Under-20 World Cup. That's the sports news. Stay with us.